The Mineplex community is upset. You'd assume people would be happier with the announcement of Mineplex returning, and the server going into more trustworthy hands than the former owners. People would be more hopeful. It was that way at first, but as months passed by, there was no actual release of the server and a lack of communication, and people began to grow impatient and lose hope. But how did this happen? This couldn't be a sudden change, and it wasn't. When Samito bought Mineplex, he said that the server would be coming back better than ever, telling the community that Bedrock and the Microsoft partnership would be the top priority. But come September 15th, 2023, Samito dropped a massive announcement with a video called The Future of Mineplex, to do more explaining. In a nutshell, Mineplex would be a server that provides Minecraft server instances to developers to create brand new game ideas or people who might want to recreate old Mineplex games. They call this the Mineplex Studio, and the SDK is essentially Spigot with some extra tools that Mineplex provides the developer. The main attraction is that Mineplex provides infrastructure and marketing, as they are still a decently sized big name and can bring in new players. This announcement brought a lot of anger and confusion to the community. People mainly wanted the old Mineplex back, but updated with new changes to the game modes. And this was something that Samito never mentioned before up until the day of the announcement. If you remember, I mentioned that when Samito bought Mineplex, he said he would bring it back better than ever and that Bedrock was the main priority. This new Mineplex is nothing like what Samito was initially talking about to the community. It's very obvious that there was a change during the summer and how they would approach the server. They might have concluded that the server in its traditional self would be unsustainable and only draw players in for a limited amount of time. People were upset comparing this to a worse Roblox because it's just a Minecraft server doing this. In the end, Samito promised an end-of-year beta and later hosted a Q&A livestream answering questions about how Mineplex will move. Look, the average player on Mineplex doesn't care about the development aspect of this and just wants to play games. The people that the announcement was targeting also rubbed them off in the wrong way. One thing is that the pay cut was 35-65, meaning 35% of the profit goes to the developers, while 65% of the profit goes to Mineplex. Many people called this out and stated that it was unfair for Mineplex to be taking such a huge amount of a developer's revenue when they weren't even creating the games. Today, studio partners are still arguing for a better pay cut, but it's not confirmed whether or not Samito will be changing his mind on the subject. Let's not forget about the shop. While it is understandable that they need some revenue to keep things going, they've offered absolutely nothing and have set up a shop asking for lots of money on certain items. Some items now that don't exist, such as clothing, they were asking for over $50 US for the merch. This made a lot of players believe that this would end up turning out to be a scam and that they would pull out as soon as they felt they could not deliver. And this sentiment stayed up until November 1st, 2023, when they announced that alpha testing for the Mineplex Studio has begun. A select amount of studios have been chosen to get an early start on the game development for their various game modes. But the issue was that Sam promised an end-of-year beta and only released the Mineplex Studio at the beginning of November. That means if they want to keep that promise, the studios would have to begin to work fast or their game wouldn't be included in the beta. A quick reminder that these people are currently not paid by Mineplex, so how fast they go is not something they could control. A few weeks before December was ending, Samito was in the chat talking about how well things were going and they would be able to deliver for an end-of-year beta. This message was shown to the studio developers and caused confusion among them. None of them were ready to release anything, and we have Samito saying that they'll be able to deliver. Ironically, a week later, an announcement is made that Mineplex is delayed indefinitely. Samito had severely underestimated the workload that this massive project would need and the time on top of that. This announcement was inevitable because many were suspicious of the beta being end of year when what they planned wasn't an easy thing to do in 5 months. So what does this mean for the future of Mineplex? A lot of players' concerns were that with this new Mineplex, the server wouldn't be as connected as it used to be. It would essentially just be a bunch of different servers to play and not a whole lot of community. I don't have an answer to how Mineplex will deal with this, but I do hope they find a way to make everything feel connected. Something like a global leveling system is most likely not going to exist as well, as the levels would be based on the studio you're playing and it wouldn't transfer over to other games. Today, people are no longer hopeful for this new Mineplex and are under the assumption that it will flop. The community is upset, and it's due to a lack of communication, so nothing has changed, right?